section for Stan Getz, Chick and Tony and you?
I think, there was basically Stan had hired Chick, and he said, "Listen, I want to have a great band." And so Chick, said, "Okay, you need to get this guy Stanley Clarke, and I think I can get Tony Williams." And then early on, we had Ayrton Moreira, the Brazilian percussionist, and so it all fell together, and we all played with Stan, and we used to wear tuxedos, and I really enjoyed playing with Stan. He was really a kind person. He was very easy to work with, and he was a great musician, tremendous improviser. The thing I liked about Stan was he could play on anything. I mean, even music that might have not, let's say rhythmically, might not have been what he was used to doing, but
Right.
he had such an ability to play. He understood harmony and improvisation really well, and so he could play on top of anything. He was one of those guys. I think sometimes he doesn't get the credit that he deserves because he was a very popular musician. He had those big hits with Girl from Ipanema, Desperado, the stuff he did with Suaves Alberto, But believe me, I played with Stan. He could play anything. He was a bebopper all the way, 100%.
Stan, no, I mean, I got to ask you, was there like a rehearsal where you had to go to Shadowbrook up to the mansion to play?
Say that again?
I mean, when Chick called you and said, "Hey, you want to play with Stan Getz?" Did you guys go and rehearse at his mansion in New York at all, in Shadowbrook? Can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, after playing with Horace Silver, I never really did any sort of auditions, but I remember we went to this huge mansion. I think he was married to this woman, and and she had this. I think she was like had something to do with some royalty or something in one of these countries. I don't know. And we went there. I was very young, and we went there to play, and it was great. It was very very easy. I mean, matter of fact, the whole band was very. I was like 18 or 19 years old, not really fully developed as a player like I would have hoped to be, and I think that's true with all guys that are 18 or 19. And you're thrown in these kind of situations. But me and Chick were just like two brothers, and Stan Getz was really kind, and Tony Williams really helped me a lot because Tony used to tell me, give me like pointers based on his experience with Ron Carter. Because Ron Carter was like hands down for me, pound for pound, the greatest bass player ever in my book.
Yeah.
So I would listen to Tony Williams, and Tony would say, Ron would do this like this, and Ron would do it. And I remember the best thing that Tony ever said was Ron was like the tree in the Miles Davis band. He was, you might think it was Herbie Hancock or this person, but the guy that really held everything together was Ron Carter. And when I go back and listen to those records, I hear it because he was like a tree, like an oak. He just didn't move. And so I kind of based my style on that. I thought and Tony was saying, do that, be that way, like be. And basically, he was saying, be strong. And that was a very cool thing. And you don't usually hear that from other people. Be strong. You have to be pretty confident yourself to tell another person that you're working with to be strong. In many ways, be stronger than me.
I did.
Pretty damn confident.
No, but I mean, this is so fascinating because, Do you remember that original engagement at the Rainbow Room with Stan? Was
Actually,
Airto on drums at some point? I really, to me,
no,
it's
no,
like, go ahead.
no. Airto on that gig, he played percussion, and Tony played the drum. Have you ever seen? There's a picture of us at the Rainbow Room. There's a really kind of a famous picture that floats around with us at the Rainbow Room. I mean, we look like something out of the 20s or something because we got these bow ties on, but then you look at Airto and you say, well, wait a minute, like somebody didn't know. They look at the film. What is this guy, an Indian or something? he's got this long hair, and we're all looking very. Could have been in the 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, you know. But what gives it away is Airto, and now that was a great gig because that was one of those high society jazz gigs. I mean, Stan, maybe only a few others would have a chance to play at the Rainbow Room there, and it was good. It was all the high society. I think some people from the Kennedy family were there. I forget who, and just all these sort of real highbrow, Upper East Side, New York type of people were there, and it was cool. It was cool. I just remember
Yeah.
those damn tuxedos. It was really hard playing in those tuxedos.
What was that? Was that because it was like a upper crust kind of gig, or Stan wanted you guys?
Yeah. That was it. I mean, it was a gig that was probably a throwback to the 40s, and and the 50s, like Duke Ellington, all those guys came in and played in tuxedos. I mean, that was very common. I was actually happy that I did it because there's a few things I've done in jazz music that I'm really proud of for the oddest reasons. Like, one is that because I got a chance to play with Stan Getz, playing in a situation that you could trace back 20 years before that gig. Like to wear a tuxedo at a gig. I mean, that's that's back there. And the other thing was playing with Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. Like that's like all the guys that have played with Art Blakey. There's kind of a brotherhood, like because only a few guys in jazz have been a part of the Jazz Messengers. And Art, even though he was crazy as hell, he really learned so much because his book, the music that he did, was so well put together. Those songs were so great, and Art was like a tremendous swing. He really understood. I mean, if you played with Art Blakey and you didn't, and you can't figure out what jazz is after that, then you should really try another business there because Art was like a 100% jazz musician. He was like a jazz ambassador. He actually taught me how to swing. He taught me how when you look at a beat, you land the note on the beat. There's 3 position points. You can go before the beat, right on the beat, or right after the beat. And he explained to me like how some players play on top of the beat, so they're before the beat. Like Tony Williams is like that. And when I used to play with Tony, Chick is like that too. We play on top of the beat, so everything always sounds like not like we're speeding up, but there's a real like energy about it. And then there's guys that play dead right on the beat, dead right on it, boom, and that's another kind of feel. And then there's the guys that play behind the beat, like say Lester Young, some of the older guys. Stan Getz actually plays when he plays ballads. He's like way back. Frank Sinatra sings way back. It's almost like he's dragging, and then he catches up by the end of the lyric. If you really study the way he sang, and many other singers too. And so Art was a guy that taught me that, and then what I realized, like maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years after that, is I recognized that I was being taught a language by all these guys. There is a language of jazz. It isn't just going to Berkeley, learning giant steps, coming out, and then you're a jazz musician. You play a few clubs. No, there's an actual language that if you're lucky enough to get around someone that has that language, and then you're fortunate enough to have that person pass it down to you. There's things, there's like things that drummers do, that bass players do, that piano players do, that enhance the music and make it really special. And it has nothing to do with how fast you play or how much technique you have or how much technique you don't have or even your compositions. It's the language, and it's to me, that's the essence of jazz music. Jazz is, I think I've told you this before, I've mentioned this to you, that jazz is a very undefined term. But if I had to define it in a dictionary, not only would I include the element of improvisation, which is the one common denominator that goes through all jazz, but I would also have to include this language and some information in text about this particular language. And I was fortunate that I got it from I played with a lot of those old. I spent a day with Dexter Gordon one time. It's a record that I can't even listen to it. I sound so bad on that record. now probably I'm mentioning it. Now everyone's going to go out and check it out. But I was like so young, but I learned so much playing with Dexter Gordon. I think it was Louis Hayes, Thad Jones played trumpet, and then the great Hank Jones on the piano. They didn't have charts. I remember we were playing Aerogen, the Sonny Rollins tune.
Sure,
no chart. They just figured, man, you're supposed to know this. And I'm like, oh, shit. So Hank Jones said, come on over here, stand next to me. He really, and there's another great example of passing something down.
Exactly.
And what he did was pass down the idea of love and help. And like, okay, young kid, I'm going to help you, and I will never forget him for that. That was the greatest thing he ever did for me. So that was that.
Can you when you and Chick joined the band with Stan, you were doing 500 Miles High, stuff that Return to Forever was doing. Was he able to pick up on that very easily because he was a total card-carrying bebopper?
I lost that question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm getting some feedback from you here. But no, my question was, you incorporated some Return to Forever music with Stan.
Yeah.
500 Miles High. And I'm just curious if he was able to adapt to that because, as you said before, he was a card-carrying bebopper. I mean, I really want to talk. I really believe that a lot of cats now start at kind of blue. They think that that's where you start, when in reality you have to go much farther back. And I just, like you were talking about the Tuxedos, but I'm even talking.
Yeah.
I'm even talking about the Brazil. I know Stan did all the bossa stuff with Astrud and Joa, but it's like you were doing a whole new language, but you guys were all rooted in bebop. I mean, that to me, is that the reason he was able to fit in so well with what you guys were doing?
Well, it was, it's funny, I don't hear this talked about much, but it was very commonplace for that people were trying to push the music forward. Like it's one thing to be rooted in something.
Right.
Okay, you're rooted in something, and that's great. But the type of musicians, like you look at, not just Chick, look at Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, all these different, Joe Henderson. I mean, it was very commonplace, and it was maybe unspoken to push the music forward. But to answer your question, well, I think I'm answering your question, is the roots are always there, because even when we played with Return to Forever later, and it's funny, Stan used to always say, and he was serious about it, that he was the guy that created Return to Forever, because, because he thought that he brought me and Chick together. He thought Chick, like, looked my name up in a phone book or something somewhere. He didn't know that we had this relationship. Because, me and Chick had played with Joe Henderson before that. Me and Chick go way back.
Sure.
So, but, those roots and those traditions, particularly the ones of improvisation, understanding the language, using language, the way Chick, accompanies the soloist, was kind of unheard of in progressive rock or whatever we were part of at that time. I mean, we brought those elements to that music, and even to Stan. It was something that was new, and Stan was interested in pushing stuff forward. It's